everyone. My name is Chubby.
And my name is Vanessa.
And welcome to
No,
No Filters, No Fears podcast. I hope you guys are doing well on this fine Monday afternoon.
So we are talking today about
transparency and boundaries.
Boundaries and transparency, keeping it crystal
clear.
We stand and what we're talking about.
So to those who don't know what the boundary of definition means, it literally means a line that marks the limit of an area. That is the definition of the dictionary definition. But it just literally means what's right, what's wrong, what's permitted, what's not permitted.
One will accept.
One won't accept. Exactly.
We teach those around us how to treat us. What is
exactly what is acceptable. And it's funny because this also goes back to communication, communicating what you need.
It wasn't even
what is desired. Well, guys, as you know, today's topic is about boundaries and about transparency, crystal clear with everything in your communication. So here we go.
And we remind you from now, because especially for topics like this, it's important to remember we are not therapists. We are not. But we have lived and we have relationships and we know people and we know therapists.
Right.
So, did we say the elephant?
The elephant is a number. The elephant is a 3. Remember, a 3.
A lot of these kind of, this stems from the communication and honesty episode and the consent episode. It kind of just kept being part of our conversation. So it wasn't done on purpose, but it clearly happened because it had been in previous topics and whatnot. And it's not fun to talk about it. Vanessa will probably spend half of this episode throwing herself under the bus again about boundary setting and transparency. but
it's okay. It's okay because it's about being transparent with yourself as well, and bringing that to the table so everybody could see that we all make mistakes and we are learning, and the process we grow together. So it's okay. It's okay.
Absolutely. So I feel like depending on what it is, everyone you have a different boundary with your friends than you do. Like there's some that are general, but there's some that are very specific to certain relationships. Or is that just me?
No, I agree with you. Just like with your family and like you said with your friends, there are unspoken boundaries because of either the length you've known them for so long or things that have happened that already created those boundaries. So I agree. Even work, just it applies to your everyday life. So yeah, whoever does not have boundaries when it comes to work, what is wrong with y'all?
I mean, in the consent episode, we talked about that, right? We talked about like in the workplace to be conscious of like the contracts and things that you're signing. So like what boundaries do you have when it comes to your work?
For me, I'm not doing anything that I do not feel like is part of what I was assigned to do. Don't tell me what to do, ask if I could do it. Like, I'm not gonna just be like, yeah, just because you're either my boss or whomever you think you are. That's not happening. I'm not gonna do what you tell me to do. Ask me if you're able to. Don't tell me what to do when it comes to certain things like that.
Don't be rude.
Right. Don't be rude about it, because that doesn't fly with me. Don't think that because you are either my boss or whatever that you could just either switch the schedule or do whatever you feel like it's right. I feel like asking still pertains, to work. Like, you should still do it. And then if the person says no, obviously, if you're not able to do it, then you're not. So what about you?
My boundaries are my private life. Actors are nosy as hell.
Tell me about it.
And models too.
Models. I know about that. Trust me.
Models are sneakies. So I keep my private life in that sense pretty like to
Yeah, like
me
everything
like to
separate too. Yeah.
my it's funny. Vanessa Elise is a different entity than Vanessa Rubio Prado, which is my legal name, right?
Hmm.
And Vanessa Elise, a lot of people have access to. Vanessa
Right.
Rubio Prado, not so many, right?
Mm-hmm.
Vanessa Elise is my work, the teaching, the acting, the podcasts, you know, these things. But Vanessa Rubio Prado, that's the thing. I put that boundary of like those worlds because I've had some of it like leak into my life and it became a hot mess.
Yeah, I don't like that either. Trust me, I
No.
totally understand. I like keeping both so separate that nobody even knows that they exist. For a
Yeah.
reason.
And I have like it's a funny rule that I say when I'm like in my edgiest. I'm like, when it comes to work, don't mess with my hair, my makeup, my nails, or my money.
Right.
Well, because like you, I'm an actor, I'm a model, so it's like the
Yeah.
look, the thing, and I can get very picky, but I'm like, oh, no, can we just whatever. But if you're like really just messing with me and I feel it's on purpose or like someone else is like getting treatment and you're clearly being a dick. I'll use an example. I was doing a play at a particular company that would do multiple shows. And they were not allowing us or not promoting our show as much as they were promoting a very specific show that they clearly had some sort of investment in. I was like, taking
Nah.
money out my pocket. No.
Exactly. No, there was no
No, for sure.
communication there. So once you find out, it's like, what is going on with people?
No. And it's especially when you're that kind of environment, we're all there together, working together. Why is anyone getting any preferential treatment over another?
Right.
I like to keep things very clear and on the table when it comes to business. I mean, I tried to do that in my personal life as well. And, and relationships with people. This is how I am, who I am. There's always room for change and growth. Pero this is where I am.
This is right. Exactly.
This is where I am right now.
Up that, keeping things separated, because sometimes when everything just all together and just a big huge mess of your personal life and your work life or your professional life, it's just so messy. Like there, then you lose yourself because
it's also like no one's not saying that you're not going to share a particular. There won't be like an overlap in a moment where there's like, for example, in our case, an award ceremony or a thing where you invite and there's the overlap of the family and the business and the thing. But it's not a constant and people aren't like all up in your grill
exactly.
about things. Or like when I've had illnesses in the family, that really, it's been a nice sign of support when people reach out. But sometimes there's some people that just don't know how to draw the line, give support, and they just get a little too like
in your business. Reading about boundaries, I found 4 types of boundaries. So there's physical, meaning your personal space, your bubble, which we just, give an example of. Mental one, which is obviously your thoughts, feelings, emotions, values, and opinions, and your own beliefs. Emotional, allowing yourself to separate your feelings from others, not taking, someone else's burden. And then spiritual, giving yourself permission to define your own relationship with whatever higher power you relate to. So these are the 4 type of boundaries that have daily, but we don't even recognize that they are like that. Just like especially when the spiritual one, and like you probably have a different a spiritual belief or religious belief than I do, and me telling you, hey Vanessa, I don't think you should, believe in that. That's, that boundary of like, no, I am okay with you believing whatever you believe. It's okay. And respecting that.
I would say like I've never understood imposing, right?
Anything. Yeah.
Spiritual beliefs. But in general, when it comes to like I say it's spiritual because I've caught myself. I know that I've imposed certain like feelings or way of dealing with things, right? Like, well, because in my brain, this should be fixed like this. And
Right.
so you find yourself, instead of advising, imposing. And if you're in a situation where the other person has just as many issues as you, or you know what I mean, in setting boundaries, it's hard because you guys are gonna just let that fester back and forth of like pushing each other to them. But if you have the ability to have somebody who's like, listen, no, let me tell you where I'm at right now, right? Therapist Helen says.
But that's the
Right?
thing.
I don't need the advice right now. I just need the support. Ah, okay.
That's the thing
Inside
with
Vanessa
me.
having a dance.
People are afraid to set their boundaries because they're afraid of hurting other people and pleasing other people. They're afraid that if they set this boundary, it's going to ruin that relationship. It's going to ruin this. It's just like saying no.
Yeah.
You set a boundary for a reason.
And it's also important because it informs the other person. Like the same way that we talked about communication, honesty, consent, all of these things allow people to know how to support you better, how to love you better, how to, why keep somebody guessing? Just like say the damn thing. But getting to there is not always easy.
Right. It's a very bumpy road.
You are really good. Like we talked about this before. You're really good about saying no. And
Yes.
you're really good about no boundary is this. I am not that person.
And I guess because my boundaries have been taken away without obviously my consent. Maybe I guess that's why I'm the way I am with me, like telling you, are you okay with this? Or, do you
Which I
mind?
so appreciate.
Right, because I treat other people how I wanted to be treated, with respect, with kindness, with love, with the right intentions, just honesty. Like I'm not asking for much. I don't think anybody's asking for much. Just be honest with the person. So
Yeah. That I think the reason we decided, and I think it's a given, but why we decided that boundary and transparency would go together is because sometimes we don't recognize certain boundaries that we may have or that we may need to have.
right.
And being transparent about how certain things make us feel, which goes beyond honesty. I can be honest and tell you the thing. Transparency, I feel, is like that little extra push, that little extra
Right.
uncomfortable, this makes me sad. This makes me sad because is the transparency part, right?
Exactly.
So, and that is so massively important because then it's like, okay, well then I need to be more cognizant of the other person knows how to help you out. If they're just like, okay, it makes you sad. Well, fuck. What do I do with that?
Most people also have to understand those boundaries. They will or can change over time as well. Like you may have said like no, like the whole consent thing. You may have said no now, but maybe later you'll be like, okay, just like a boundary. Maybe you don't feel comfortable with this right now, but later on, hey, that could possibly change as well.
It's so funny because you're absolutely right that one needs to say that side, but we forget that there's another side to that communication, and it's the person receiving this new set of information. I think it's just as important to learn how to receive certain boundaries without shooting it down and falling into the trap that we may sometimes fall into, to like gaslight the person or just like shut down because it triggers some of our own insecurities, right? So then we're like, your boundary, meh, because I need this, and then we just stuck on that. It's hard to be on either of those sides. But if we're truly trying to work to be better at setting boundaries and being receptive and understanding of other people's boundaries, like you play the both sides.
Right.
No, uno no puedes arreglar the one side.
No, and also it's like the person, like you said, receiving it. I mean, most people, I think, should be, not open-minded, and should sit there and listen to the other person, and see what they're saying. Like you said, instead of just shutting it down and shushing it away, or
Or
like, I
becoming defensive.
don't. Right. And I understand it's uncomfortable. Trust me, guys, it is. But in order for growth to happen, slowly, obviously, I'm not saying do it now and that's it, get it over with. No,
Yeah.
slowly, you could, start getting somewhere. Because it's very unhealthy to sit there in that, if you have something to say, but you're afraid of the other person and how they're going to react, that's not being honest with yourself either.
I building this understanding with another person, you're building this relationship, you're building this whatever it is on not complete facts. Really know where you stand. And again, this is any kind of relationship. I'm not going to go through that explanation again. You know what? I will send somebody a gift if you guys put in the chat what we mean when we say relationship and on this show.
Right
Give
now,
that explanation and you will get a little something,
a gifty gift.
a little gifty gift in the mail from No Filters, No Fears podcast.
Watching for the answer. If I don't,
damn, if I gotta explain it every time. In every relationship, fact, you're building that relationship on things that aren't facts. You're basing it on shimmy shaky ideas, right? You don't even have anything that can grow or evolve because you don't know where you started to begin with. You're just like, maybe. And then as you go, and then it's kind of like as you go discovering certain things about someone, it feels kind of like, oh, well, then it was a lie.
Right. When in reality it wasn't, because you're still getting to know that person, no matter in what, relationship it is. You're just getting to know them. So yeah, it may seem like a lie, but again, they were not opting it out. It wasn't brought up because should you bring it up out of nowhere?
When you go into like a I guess we could use ourselves as an example.
Yeah.
When you go into like a business venture or whatnot, like I remember our conversation when you first brought up about doing a show. You asked about you asked about my boundaries, things I would be willing to talk about, or where I, what was okay for me to push myself towards. And I appreciate that. Sometimes in business partnerships, it's like you're not putting the maximum effort forward if you're not doing this or this. I never have felt that pressure because I would have ran.
This wouldn't have been the case if I were that type of person. No, I care about how the other person feels. I want you to be comfortable. I want to make sure that I didn't overstep, like the boundary wasn't crossed. Like that's me being transparent with my own feelings and letting you know, Vanessa, I care for yours, but I really want to make sure that, let's say we talk about the consent topic, for example, I want to make sure that it's not going to trigger neither one of us. I want to make sure that we have a very stable mindset where we're able to talk about it and actually, communicate that. But if that was a very hard topic for you to talk about, we wouldn't have done it, because this is not about me. It's about us, because we are in this relationship together. So it's important. I'm giving y'all clues. Y'all are sucking over there. No, but it's important, and that's why most people tend to forget. Me world, it's like that's not how it works. It's just two people or three people, whatever the case may be. It's a group, it's whatever,
My mom calls it like working with people's drugs.
Yeah.
Working with people's drugs, it's a lot of that. And everybody's boundaries are different, and they exist because of different reasons, and that is that person's own until they want to share it, right?
Exactly.
But as a relationship builds, after that transparency comes in of like, listen, I don't just say no because me sale del fondillo. I say it because, you know what I mean?
I haven't heard that word forever.
Fondillo? Hashtag fondillo.
No, because there was a hashtag cock, and I was like, is she serious?
Oh, Brian, you're here.
Oh yeah, he's okay. So you read Brian, I read Janine. Would you
Dale,
like
pues.
to? Okay, so here is
Deciding to be in a relationship means choosing to be on your partner's team. And sometimes that means putting their needs before your own. Haha. We get into something that I like talking about. And I know Chewy has feels. I have feels about this too. I'm not disagreeing with you, Brian, because I do feel that way. Pero hay un pero. Hay un pero.
elaborate your better because I would like to know.
No, you. Go ahead.
Me?
You?
Me first?
Yeah.
Okay. Relation. What type of relationship are you talking about, Brian? Are you talking about a
This
romantic
sounds like,
relationship?
here's where it goes. Romantic relationship. That's what Brian sounds like he's talking about.
Right. If we're
I
wrong,
could be
correct us. We'll stand corrected if we were wrong. Oh, to me personally, in a relationship, I don't feel like your needs should go above anybody's. You should communicate those feelings to your partner, and they should communicate yours to them. But no one should be above anybody because no one is more important than the other one. You know, but and I think that stems from a selfish type of thing in a very selfless way of act, but I feel like everybody should be equal playing, like to me at least. Sometimes it means putting yourself before the other person too. Yeah, not happening.
Right. Okay.
Not happening.
Here's my pero.
Hi, do lunch. Okay,
Hi,
now you're
my pero is the following. You're choosing to be on your partner's team. Sometimes that means putting their needs before your own, putting your feelings. Sometimes it means putting your feelings before the other person too. I don't know if I so much. No, it's just a delicate matter, Chubi.
It is. I was just wondering. I'm like, is she coming back? And she's like deep in there.
Romantic or otherwise. Okay.
Okay, now we're talking.
Right. Because yes, it absolutely can apply to friendships as well.
Of course.
I think it's not something like putting someone before you. It's considering, right? And that there's nothing wrong or selfish about hoping that someone can consider your feelings, right? And sometimes, depending on the situation, I don't disagree with Brian. It does mean putting their feelings, right? Right. If it's not something directly related to you, if it's between the two of you, y'all got to take care of yourself so way you can find a solution and it not grow to craziness.
Well, that's what I meant. Yes.
Right. If they're going through something, right? You do figure out how you go outside of your own comfort zone and your own needs a little bit to be there for that person a little extra. I that's
agree.
how, I'm not a therapist and not, but that's how I try to approach it, because maybe that's what I definitely know that's what I would want and hope, that somebody could. I got you for this moment. I don't know. I can stop being thinking of me for a second, but I know that's not always the case, nor do I hold no me frustro for very long if I don't receive it in return, but I know that I would feel shitty if I didn't.
Well, in that aspect, I agree. If it's between us, there's a problem. But if it's like something with you and yes, I totally agree.
The mess is if you have an expectation of receiving it back, right? If that person can only meet you where they're at,
right?
Talk to your boo in the face. If somebody is not able, they're not able.
So Janine says most people aren't considerate of others. If you set boundaries that aren't the norm, you're considered rude. Right, exactly. That's another thing. Yeah, some people don't even realize that this boundary is something that should be a boundary, and they think that you're rude for setting it. I understand where she's coming from. And I don't know, it's just weird, because if you never seen it or heard of it, it's like,
right. And I find that really annoying, and the more people start to be accepting that everyone's different and has their needs and has their triggers. And sometimes those boundaries are born from, protecting oneself or emotionally or actually like physically.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's super different and what people are used to, they make a face.
They're like,
They
what?
look
Yeah.
weird. I am guilty when it comes to like, I think feeling boundaries. I've had way too many opinions of certain boundaries because I haven't gotten it. And the more
Right.
I have paid attention to why people have certain emotional boundaries, I'm like, don't be shitty. Like it makes sense, right? But if you're just thinking it automatic reaction, or as
Right.
Eric Helen would say, thinking brain, like you're just your opinion based thought, you're
And then that's it.
no lo vas a ver, it's considered rude and nobody wants to talk to you. Like,
Right.
and I don't get that.
I don't either. Janine says sometimes you can put the other person's that person needs before your own. However, that person in the other half of the relationship should reciprocate to create somewhat of a balance.
It'd be nice.
It would be nice.
It would be nice if you. What is your stance on that, Chubi? Because that's kind of what I said about expectation. Like, you would hope that que le nace, right? That it comes directly from them. And it should, especially if it's something that is a consistent giving of energy and support.
Right.
You should hope that even if it's outside of their norm, they do so.
At least try, show some effort that you're trying, or communicate, I'm not sure how I could do this for you or be there for you, but I'm trying.
Right. That makes more sense to me, because sometimes a person, you can, I like that you worded it, you can put those. Yes, that would be the nice gesture. But I feel like sometimes we don't present it as we present it as a demand. You have to do this.
Right.
Or I'm not going to feel. And the thing is, you're entitled to definitely want that. And that other person's definitely entitled to not reciprocate in the way that you feel that you need. And then that's a decision as well, right? That's information too. To be like, thank you so much for services rendered.
But we live in a world where we're not taught to have this type of communication, this type of transparency. I think this should be taught in school or something, man, because having this type of communication daily, and we have these all the time, and just having that communication is like, what are you doing today? Are you okay? Like, is everything okay? Like I asked you, are you guys happy today? I asked because I wanted to know. I wanted to make sure how is your mental state right now, and if you're good to talk about this, are we okay? Because if not, we can't continue this podcast if you are not feeling 100%.
Absolutely. And we do have those boundaries. If we're like in a certain place, we don't go into our meetings and our conversations. That's one of the boundaries. Mental state here, we'll do it at another time.
What are you guys' boundaries? What do you guys watch?
Some hard boundaries.
Oh yeah, boundaries that you're like, hell no. Like what what just happened? Yeah. Share some of your boundaries and the way you guys communicate.
I'm trying to find this thing. I'm trying to find a thing because a friend of mine shared about how to set boundaries, right? The language. We talked about how important language can be.
I found a couple of things, a way to ask for boundaries, but I'm pretty sure it's not the same way like your friend asked.
Well, let me see. No, it's great because it gives you like what sounds like a demand, what sounds like,
Well, I mean, these are just basic. It's like, know your limits, tune into your feelings and make sure that they are aligned with what you're saying and your belief. Be direct and honest. Give yourself permission to go through, if you feel it, to go through with it, and practice self-awareness to make sure that you know how you're feeling, what you're feeling, and to make sure that this is exactly what you want. And then consider your past and present. Are you acting out on your because of your past? Are you acting because of your present? What's going on? Are they aligning together? And then make self-care a priority. So, self-care as in your mental health as well, your physical, your spiritual. So did you find it? Not yet.
I found something else, but I like what you're saying. That's why I was like,
and then I have 3 more, and that's it. And then 6, support. If you're not able to get out of that bound, like you need help finding that, you could seek help. Be assertive, and then start small. So baby steps. And I always tell you that baby steps are the best ways to get you out of that like uncomfortable zone. Start with the smallest thing that make you uncomfortable, then go to the biggest thing that made you uncomfortable. So like boundaries so small. Janine says she has a boundary with oversharing. That's the one thing she and I share. Oversharing sometimes is like unnecessary, depending on what it is. Like if it's personal, but if we're friends, that's fine. But if it's like on a stranger and you don't even know who they are and you're oversharing someone else's business, yeah, like she says, please don't ever overshare your private sexual things with me. I agree with her. She has that boundary. Brian says a boundary is when someone is putting you in some sort of difficult or uncomfortable situation or disrespectful or being disrespectful.
Okay.
Okay.
That's really good about stating her boundaries. Okay. And she doesn't, because I was reading here, I'm like, here's some ways that you can set boundaries. Like, this sounds like something this person would say. It's like, I don't, thank you for the invitation, but I just want to stay home and read a book. It can come off to somebody who can get defensive at shit like that, come off as rude, but they're being transparent as hell and setting their boundary. So it could be off-putting at first. Let me tell you, when I started hearing things like that, I was like, like, I get grumpy Gus. But in reality, thank you for telling me what you'd actually rather do. So I'm not like, I don't keep pushing. Right. And then it doesn't mean I won't invite you anymore. It just means like I'm cognizant that you got your you time.
Remember that one episode when I first told you that I didn't even want to do it? Remember, it was episode 3 or something, that I was not feeling it? Yes. I was like, I'm not feeling this episode today, but I'm going to do it because I know it's something I set myself to do, and it's a promise that we both made, and I'm going to do it for us. I didn't want to do that episode. I didn't want to do it. I wanted to go and lay down. That was that's what I wanted to do. Go to sleep early, okay? But we did it. So I guess I, extended the boundary a little bit. But there's nothing wrong with
boundary outside of your comfort zone for the greater good.
Yes.
For the greater good. But also, like, in situations like that, and it's happened before the other way around, when I haven't felt like 100% golden sparkles, that you've picked up, the slack. So I would hope that I had you, I had your back during that episode. That's kind of those things like where Brian was talking about your relationships or partnership. One's down, you kind of, I hated you. I help you pull them along with you for a moment, right? But if we're both down, that would have been a really bad show.
It wouldn't have been, because then there would nothing to be done. But see, I don't mind that, because trust me, I understand that sometimes mentally we need a break, especially from everything and all, and you being an actress and an actor and in the entertainment business. I know you could get fried sometimes. So you might need a little bit of, I don't want to do this today. And it's not detrimental. It's not like the podcast is going to just,
I also feel like if you really care about somebody, you learn to work with certain boundaries, right? That may, like, they chocan, like they're not things that you may actually love, right? And if there's no compromise in it, like if you're not able to compromise, but it's like if you really care about that person and there's other things that are so much more, then you learn to work with it, right? Because there's always the possibility that certain things can develop. And if they're being transparent with you and telling you that this boundary is set because of XY reason, they're being very vulnerable and allowing you to understand why this boundary was set. So it's kind of like you're not being very caring if you keep pushing that button. And it's very tempting sometimes to push the button.
And it goes around with what Dulanch is saying. Always be understanding even if you don't agree. I was just about to say that, just like what you said. They're telling you why they're setting this boundary, but even if you don't agree with it, they were vulnerable enough to tell you why. She says, do like this, do like the same things, don't dance to the same music, understand the difference and respect it.
Look, you hate Hamilton.
Yes.
And I still love you.
Exactly. We respect.
I don't know if I can forgive you, but I love you.
Well, I still didn't give you my X, Y, and his reasons, but I do have. It's not like it's just like I don't like them because
until further notice, I understand, and I don't bring up Hamilton to you. I have other people I can talk Hamilton about.
Exactly, and we have plenty of other more interesting topics to me that we could talk about. So
exactly.
Hamilton right there. But now, like you said last episode, if we would have let that get in between the podcast and us, were we listening to each other? Were we respecting each other at all?
Yeah.
That would have been like, exactly. Oh, we have issues we need to work with.
Yeah, and I mean, I've learned a whole lot about transparency in the last year or two. About how I could better, my way of communicating and vice versa, and listening. But when it comes to gauging where you're at with someone and what they can tolerate or not, everybody has their thing. One of my friends uses the red, yellow, green, like the stop sign. And in their conversations, they'll check in and say, I'm at a yellow, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're reaching that place. So it's kind of up to their partner to understand what that means. And instead of like turn it back. I've been known to use emojis. Lion, raw, scary, not in the place. Right? So everybody has their kind of gauge, and in your different relationships, that's different. I know that, for example, like with my mom, if she says not now, it's not now. It's not now, right? I'm gonna save her the anguish of getting more angry, and me the anguish of like, allowing a space or an opportunity for us to press each other's buttons and the situation just get worse, know. And that happens in any relationship. We all know what those buttons are, and for some reason, sometimes we go on, we want to push them. We want to push them.
The wrong buttons.
The wrong buttons. I think it takes a lot to kind of like, okay, toca hacer the wusa moment. It's not an easy place to be, to remind yourself to pull back if somebody's telling you where that's their limit, because you're like, but I'm not done now.
Right, to accept it. Yeah. And to understand it. Like, yes, you may want or you may need or whatever, but they're not capable of doing it. So they're letting you know. And it's for you to understand and accept that and be like, okay, whatever. Despite of how you feel about the situation, you have to understand that, because you're just crossing a boundary. They already told you, what's going on. So,
Brian, I love this. Please go ahead, read it.
I always say the key foundations of relationships are mutual trust, respect, and communication.
And ready? Mutual trust, respect, and communication, even in relationships, boundaries.
Boundaries, yes.
Boundaries, absolutely. Yes, Brian, thank you. Absolutely. Those are cornerstones of a good foundation in any relationship, but absolutely boundaries, because you want to know. I would have to say that more often than not, when I've allowed myself to not be so reactive and snippy,
Yeah.
right? I end up getting to know the person so much better and in a space and in a way that I appreciate them more, right? Or at least appreciate where they're coming from more, that they've allowed me to be in that space with them. So it's like, okay, there's no room for hostility, but it's like it's difficult. It's difficult, but more often than not, if you allow yourself to be understanding of someone else's boundaries and set your own without apologizing, without feeling that fear, right? Understanding that there's room for either compromise or that they will just accept that this is a hard no. You're knowing that person's true intention and feeling, and you're knowing the real them. And then you're with them because of the real them, or they're with you because of the real you. And that's a relationship worth being in.
That also elevates the relationship into a deeper meaning, and you guys are getting closer. So that also is a good way to build those foundations from the start. So I agree.
Yeah. Emotional maturity is not something that like happens. Like automatically you're an adult, you have emotional maturity. Negative.
I
That
would.
that does not happen like this. It's trial and error. It's
Failed relationship.
allowing ourselves to be more vulnerable.
So allow yourself to there,
Yeah. And these are in choice relationships. It's not like, hello, stranger, I'm now going to give you my heart and soul. Like,
no, right.
this is like boundary setting within typical relationships. But even so, I think like in public settings, we feel more comfortable in setting certain boundaries than we do in our mano a mano, right?
Right.
Our consistent relationships. Because you're like, oh, it's a stranger. I can be a little bit drier. I can be a little bit more matter of fact. When it comes to like brother, sister, mother, partner, we're like, but I'm afraid I don't want to hurt. I don't want to say, I don't want to.
Some people, yes. Some people.
Shubi's like, not me.
I mean, when it comes to certain people, yeah, I could be like that. But when it comes to family matters or like to certain friends, I'm like, no. Why should I? I'm gonna be transparent with you when I am gonna be brutally honest.
Absolutely.
When I hope you guys saw the video we posted today with Brené Brown about boundaries. I hope you saw those 5 delicious minutes, because she said something that her husband had said. So she just said it on the thing. She said, what if people are doing the best they can? Because I'm like, I never thought about that. Some people are uncomfortable. Some people don't like to talk about certain things, but they're doing those baby steps that I told you about. Maybe that's all that they can do.
Being somebody where they are instead of imposing where they should be. But it's funny because not only are some of us bad at saying no, some of us are really bad at hearing and accepting no.
Sometimes, see, I'm gonna throw myself under the bus. Since you've done it already, you should go by the bus now.
Oh, child, I live under the bus. The bus is running over me.
Depending on the situation, I don't like hearing no. But it's depending. But
I know when it comes to work stuff, I don't like hearing no.
But other than that, I am good with accepting no. But when you say no, give me a reason. I'm that type of person that will set that boundary. Why did you say no? Can I hear a reason? Or you just don't have one? Or you just don't want to hang out with me? Or you just don't want to do anything? You know what I mean? But if you give me a reason, I would just back off. Because I am that type of person. Communicate with me your true reason as to why you're saying no. Because I could accept a no, but why no? That's it.
The aha moment is like, I always talk to my students about, you can't just sit on a stage and emote emotion, like just give off emotions and like, oh, it's right. You're doing this all for yourself. And then the people that are supposed to be receiving the message, the audience is confused. And they're like, oh, I just thought he was constipated. But you're like, no, but I was feeling it and I was this and I was that. I'm like, well, if that's not what they got, and that's not, you know, you could have been feeling all the things. But if that's not what was interpreted, did you really give the message? So it's like also understanding that it's not always easy to come to like how we all like express that emotion or that confusion, or that it's not always going to read to someone else the same.
Right. Everybody could look at the same situation, and get different outcomes out of it. So yeah.
And your intention might be super clear to you, but the other person's looking at it from their experience, their understanding.
Right.
Right. So hablando se entiende la gente. Talking, understand each other. If what you're feeling is not coming clear, the person's not a mind reader. The person's not, you know, they're meeting you as far as they can go.
But also, if they don't understand, they should ask.
And that's where the whole,
or they feel lost,
gaslighting or the thing, when you know what I mean.
Right.
So, and it's sometimes you just don't know what to ask either.
Right. Just be like, I don't know what you're talking about. I just feel lost. Like I've done that to you. I'm like, oh, Vanessa, I don't know what you're. Oh my God, my brain is not understanding what you're saying. Remember that day? And I was like, and I was trying to understand it, but then we got to an understanding of what the hell you were trying to say, and my brain clicked, and we were good. But I didn't sit there and pretended that I knew what you were talking about. I hate when people do that. They're like, yeah, I know what everybody's talking about. No, I'm not gonna.
No, you don't.
I don't. So I'm not going to pretend here and think I do. So no, I don't. Yeah. Most people do that. They're like, yeah. And then they're like, I have no clue what the fuck this person's talking about. And that's, yes.
He posted it. Can I do this first? Okay. No, because it's like we were talking about people that have the problem saying no or hearing no. But there's also like, okay, you set the boundary, you've said it. Then you have some people. I fall under this category sometimes, and which is why I've allowed so much destruction of boundaries. No more, but I'm just saying, you feel guilty for setting boundaries. And this lovely little model here, which I will send to you, Chibi, so you can do with it as you wish on our social media. It says, when we feel guilty for setting boundaries, it's important to remember you're choosing temporary discomfort over growing resentment, which has come up in every episode, from communication and honesty to consent to now transparency and boundaries. It's a temporary discomfort, uncomfortable conversation, uncomfortable emotional place, you know, being vulnerable and being transparent about a feeling or about something that you don't feel uncomfortable about, setting the boundary and your space over. I'm just gonna hold it. Now you teach this person that it's okay to do certain things. So guilty. Oh my God. I'm so hard under this bus, Chibi. Okay, right? And then now you're taking the bus home. Like, I'm taking the bus home. Now you're in a place where you resent. You cannot blame the other person because you have built this pool of resentment over shit you could have taken care of. But you didn't think you could. I'm so hard under that bus. I know that feeling.
If the first time you see something you don't like, say it. Instead of just, like you said, letting it accumulate. Now you have this resentment afterwards, and it's like, could have been avoided.
And even if it's not that first time, because like we said, sometimes you just don't know. It's like, oh, discomfort. Maybe it's just me, and you let it slide. Second time, oh, discomfort. Oh, it's me again. But it really bothered me. It could really be just you and how you process something. You still can share with the other person, because it's like, yo, I'm getting used to this. Can we not?
Right, exactly.
Because again, I say, if they care, they'll be like, okay, well, the compromise lever, right? Where can we meet on this compromise measure? And if not, how can I be more cognizant to not like do shit on purpose? Because if you really care about somebody, you learn what it is that hurts them, and you don't do that thing. You're not very nice. You're choosing self-respect over self-sabotage. that's a hard lesson. That's something that I've been struggling with. That is a struggle, right? And it's not that I don't respect myself or love myself, but it's definitely a thing
Right.
where you don't recognize that you're sabotaging yourself and not being honest about how something makes you feel or what something makes you do.
And when you do, you feel like you don't want to sit there and go through it and think to yourself like, oh my God. And, you don't want to sort through that emotion. So sometimes you just...
Te tienes que dar tu valor.
Right.
You got to give yourself your value. Protecting our finite energy over I lost it. Come back. Over compassion, fatigue, and burnout. Protecting our finite energy, emotionally or otherwise, over compassion, fatigue, or burning out. Not emptying out your whole cup. You can't give from an empty cup. Not emotionally, not physically,
mentally, spiritually.
Not mentally, spiritually. You can't, like, I love that. I love that. Protecting your finite energy over compassion, fatigue, and burnout. Because you cannot give of your best self after a certain point if you're just constantly just letting people
right.
with you.
You have to be 100.
Yeah. And you're choosing, I love this one, because it's what we were talking about before. Authentic connection over staying hidden. Authentic connection isn't just the cutesy over the top stuff. It's the ugly.
Right.
It's those parts that, like, in a general, in an acquaintance situation, you choose what those boundaries are. It doesn't have to get so deep, but either way, you're giving your most authentic self in this kind of open setting. But in personal relationships, right, and close business partnerships, authentic connection, knowing, being true about your emotions, your mental state, your physical state, all of these things, I think it's so important. You're if they cannot accept all of the things,
right, exactly. With for us example, like, yeah, I could be all happy and whatever, but I've come to you crying after several episodes that episode was that deep and it really messed with my mind. So I've expressed that to you and let you, just told you everything just so it could be out of my consciousness, because if not, it was hard. But you need to be able to accept that and sit there and be honest with yourself instead of just letting it go and be like, well, Vanessa, this episode, no, I was honest with you and you were understanding, so you weren't just there for, when she was just happy, it's like, okay, she's crying. Okay, what can we do? What can you not do? You just sit
not
there.
Just showing up for the pretty parts.
Exactly.
Boundaries can sound like, I like this, and they're all very general, but we all learn to apply. And I actually have issues with some of these, but that's a different conversation. It can sound like, no thanks, 1 glass of wine is my limit. That's a boundary. Yes. No thanks. That's for those people that are like, girl, have another shot, have another drink. No, like, respect.
Right. I said, right.
I don't feel comfortable with any form of physical intimacy right now. Ooh, beautiful. Can we talk about that a moment?
Means no touching hands, no touching thighs, none of my hands, no rub my shoulders.
Right. This is one of those, the person hearing is like, grumpy pants, right? They don't want me. They don't, it can feel that way.
But it's not about you.
It's not. That's what one needs to remember. So, and for women, sometimes like if you you're like getting flirty, right? And you get rejected, you're like, I don't make kidding. But guys are, everyone is entitled. Everyone is entitled to of not wanting to go there. Such a good one. It doesn't mean never. It just means not right now. It says right now.
Right. Accept it and move on.
I do appreciate, oh no, I appreciate your vulnerability, but at this moment, I'm not in a space where I feel like I can support you because I'm also really struggling.
The most important one. Well, one of the important ones, I feel.
It is the important ones. I have not been so great about that one. I've tried more as of late because I learned this, and we talked about it on the consent episode. I'm like, I'm gonna do it more often, about sharing things, like making sure somebody is in a space where they can hear like a bomba news, even if it has nothing to do with them.
Right.
It's been difficult because by nature, I want to be there for the people that I love and care about, regardless of what I'm going through. And sometimes I can, and sometimes I can't, and I'm not honest about it. And they get the shitty end of the stick at the end of it. Right. So it's being honest with yourself too about where you're at so that you can be there for the person that you love and not feel like a douche afterwards. Fireworks make me anxious, so I won't be attending the New Year's Eve party.
Yeah, I don't like fireworks.
You don't?
They're annoying, loud, and toxic.
I will not invite you to any fireworks situations.
Thank you.
Or if it's something I'm like, no, but Shubi's got to be here, then I will not have fireworks. Or I'll get you like your what is it? Your place.
Yeah, that's what work.
Thank you for inviting me, but I would rather stay home tonight and read a book. I have become so appreciative of that. Before, it gave me such an issue, but I like when people say it to me like that. My friend Angie says it to me like that.
Hey, sometimes a book is better.
Yeah, no, but sometimes it's like really refreshing for somebody to be like, I love you so much, but I just don't want to.
Right.
You're like, okay. I will respond to emails after the weekend. So this goes back to what Janine was saying before about like when you set certain like boundaries, people think you're being rude.
Right.
The other day in one of the board meetings, someone said I won't be answering anything this weekend because it's the weekend. And somebody got really offended in the group chat. Like, that was so rude. I'm like, no, that's their boundary. They don't like working on weekends. And they've said it before. Y'all keep insisting on sending messages on the weekend.
Hey, I told you this before that I don't like talking about no podcast stuff on Friday, after Friday and Saturday.
Yeah.
Nope, that's my me time. Not talking about no work. Unless I find something that's so like awesome that we can share with our audience, yes. But to sit here and be like, no, this is my weekend. Goodbye. Sundays, we could talk, possible. If you can't, then that's fine. But yeah, no.
Right.
Why should the person sacrifice that? No.
Absolutely. Any negative comments about my partner will result in our leaving the family gathering. That's the one where I kind of had issue because I understand why, right? Like, I don't want nobody talking bad about my partner, but the language is what bothers me.
Right.
I feel like it doesn't sound like something that'll. I don't know. I don't know why my issue with it. No, me gusta, and that's it.
I understand that sometimes there could be conflict between the partner and the family, and I understand that. But if they do not respect your partner, then ask why, or ask them to do that. They're not asking for much. You don't get to see me. We're just here this one time, or sporadic,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I guess the reason I have issues with it, my friend had shared that one thing that said the different types of way of setting a boundary around one thing.
Mm-hmm.
And each one sounded, I will find it and we will post it. I swear, I will do this.
Well,
because
find it.
It made sense to me. I was like, and I think it was like discussing tomatoes or something. There are boundaries on having tomatoes in a salad. And it was just so well written that it helped you understand why the language is so important to having someone be receptive is the word I'm looking for, to the boundary that you're setting, versus like, oh, that's so weird, or give you, pushback.
Right.
I will find it. I'll share it. And then I have a quote from Brené Brown that I will do as the button to Chubby's book corner.
So on Chubby's book corner, guys. Yes, today's a book corner, because I was able to find some good stuff out there. I found 5 books. Wow, I don't know how to count. I found 5 books. So here we go. So today's on Chubby's book corner. Number 1, boundaries. When to say yes, how to say no, to take control over your life, by Henry Cloud and John Townsend. The book deals on how to implement boundaries, how to use the tools for a better relationship. Number 2, where to draw the line, how to set healthy boundaries every day, by Anne Catherine. It's a practical book for maintaining boundaries in all kinds of situations. So, friendships, our relationships. And
yes.
Number 3, better boundaries, owning and treasuring your life, by Jan Black and Greg Enns. It deals with the internal struggles of boundaries and how to set them. How people struggle to say.
I'm gonna read that book.
I think that one, I'll give it to you.
Thanks.
Number 4, boundary power, how I treat you, how I let you treat me, how I treat myself, by Mike O'Neill and Charles Newbold. This book teaches you the concept of boundaries, how to set personal rules, and how to protect yourself when others try to break the rules, and not to be afraid to ask or say to someone that they cross the boundary with you, which that one everybody should read, because it is difficult. It's like, hey, I didn't like how you talked to me. I don't appreciate that. But you just let them, and there you go. And then the last one, fun one, is called Unfuck Your Boundaries, by Faith Harper. Build better relationship through consent, communication, and expressing your needs. So those are the 5 books that I found that I thought that were well-rounded in every aspect of your life. And by the way, number 1, the boundaries, when to say yes and how to say no, that one has boundaries on marriage, teen, and leadership, like work and stuff, and dating. So by Henry Cloud. They have several different topics. How about
the quote?
Yeah, the quote.
So the quote is from Brené Brown. I actually sent it to you because there's an article linked to it all about boundaries. It's like a little crash course on different types of boundaries and how to feel more comfortable setting it. But the quote from Brené Brown, who I love, compassionate people ask for what they need. They say no when they need to, and when they say yes, they mean it. They're compassionate because their boundaries keep them out of resentment. Sometimes when it's funny, because then we end up imposing our hurt about boundaries or lines being crossed on the person who crossed them, when in reality maybe we didn't set it to begin with.
Exactly.
Or we allowed it to be crossed one too many times,
and I was just normal.
Right. So we've made a space where now we're gonna feel resentful. We chose the self-sabotage over the self-respect.
And I think we tend to do that also with friendships, with them, because in general, because you just, we've known you for 15 years, and then you now start realizing, wait, we used to do that? I don't remember that. And then you're like, yeah. And I'm like, well, I don't like it now. But because that friendship is so deep into that mindset of how we work together, that it's like, how can we move forward to make it a better one and not uncomfortable, So
that's part of being open to the evolution that happens. That's going to happen in relationships that long. You're talking about 15 years. People grow up.
Of
And,
course.
you know, people have their jobs that affect them in different ways. People have different friendships or connections that change or, you know, may alter their perspective in a positive way or a negative way. So there's always room for evolution of boundaries and of, you know, how comfortable one feels being transparent about, you know, where they're at. Being open to
Um,
adapt and adaptive to change. Yes, Ryan. I love when you say the things. Ah,
we all
Ryan,
agree.
you are the therapist.
Yep. We have a
Ryan is the
therapist.
therapist.
But that is true though. And but you're willing to understand, you need to be willing to understand that change will happen. Like you can't
Mhm.
be thinking that it's never going to happen and you're not gonna,
Right,
if you
basing the entire relationship on that whatever that momentary
but that's
cluster beep of a situation.
yeah. No,
Damn
and
it.
that's true. No,
That it's important to be accepting of the evolution, right? And not think that, you know, that whatever that boundary is going to stay that way and you're going to be, you know, compromising or whatever forever because it does change. And if it doesn't, then that's something that you got to be okay with. But if it's something that was agreed, like the agreement was, it won't be like this forever, then you kind of just got to go with it and not base it on how uncomfortable you feel forever, because the moment it changes, you're going to be like, but what the fuck?
right. So what do you have for today on Music Monday with Vane?
Music Mondays. I feel like I should have a theme song for Music Mondays.
Anybody out there? Do if you listening, Vanessa's looking for a little, ringy tone for her Music Monday intro.
Music Monday. I feel like that's what it should sound like.
Something like that. Something like that.
We got some fun stuff. I'm just gonna play some of it so people get a feel. There's a lot of artists that I'm digging this song a lot. Foliage is the name of the band. So a lot of the songs obviously have to do with transparency and boundaries. We know I'm big on lyrics, so I look at lyrics for all of them. There's a fun mix. Shuffle play. There's a fun mix of different genres of music, as always, and you guys know that it is a collaborative. There you go. Is it Brian that's always asking for the reggae?
No, that's Peter.
Oh, well, I gave you some.
But he means reggaeton, not actual reggae.
Oh, and you said reggaeton. No, I like music. For this,
I don't know if
I don't.
has a
I don't think I'm gonna
favorite
find reggaeton that's gonna have anything said about boundaries. And I like reggaeton, but
yeah, because reggaeton is literally not the one to set boundaries.
no.
Not
So
the
we
one.
got some Spanish music. We got some Pet Shop Boys. I've gotten you moving with so many of these songs.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out which one is my favorite from there. Like the one I have one from each playlist, man. But right now, I listened to this playlist today. I have not found one that I'm like,
really, that sticks with you. Well, this one's called Crystal Clear, to go with the title.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And I even put a little, it's not actual Broadway, but it's a Broadway style thing. It's my idols, Broadway idols. And it's talking about a relationship. The wife is saying, I want this. I need this. I do this all day long. All I ask for is a little bit of this. So there's definitely a nice mix in here.
You just brought a point, but I mean,
what's the point? Go ahead, talk about it. That's Music Mondays.
Woo!
Go onto Spotify, follow, share the playlist, add to all of the playlists. Crystal Clear, anything to do with transparency, boundaries, And it doesn't have to be in the title. A lot of those have it in the title. Some of them don't. It doesn't have to be in the title. Just something that resonates with you about how you feel about a particular boundary, or about boundaries in general. Do it. All right.
Yeah.
Real low.
What you just brought a point about, about the wife wanting and asking. My thing is, if you tell someone, hey, this is what I want, this is what I need from you, are you able to provide? Are you able to, go through with it? I feel like they should be like, no, yes, give you something instead of just leaving you hanging without an answer, because then you're just there wondering, did they even listen to me? Did they respect my wants, my needs? Are they gonna be able to do anything about it? And I have a problem with that when I say something of that nature and the other person's just like not even giving me anything, no feedback from that. I'm like, can you communicate with me and tell me what's going on through your mind? What about what I said? Can you share something?
Do you think that they stay in that silent mode because they're afraid that whatever their truth is or whatever they may share is going to make you walk away?
Well, I mean, depending on the situation, depending on what we're talking about, whom we're talking about, yes, I feel like possibly that's one of the reasons people would think they walk out, or we're gonna get upset, or maybe they just don't have an answer, but they don't know how to communicate that they don't have an answer because of the fear of, my reaction. So who knows? Yeah. Possibilities. But I'm not
it's very possible, but I don't think that makes it. It's not right. They don't. It's difficult, but I still think it's necessary because it's that building authentic connection, right? If you're not really saying it, you're just allowing them to make the assumption, right, of what they would like the response to be.
And that's not how.
Yeah. Truth, I say.
I don't know. I'm a very honest and open person. So if I'm telling you literally by word how I feel, what I want, what I need, and everything, and it's crystal clear, I would like the same from you. That's it.
Right.
I don't know. We're gonna make an episode on patience because I don't have none when it comes to that.
We'll do an episode on patience.
Oh,
I'm not very patient either. So that'll be an interesting episode on patience.
Oh yeah.
Impatient, sorry. I don't know words.
Two impatient people.
I try to be patient. I'm working on it.
I mean, it depends on what it is, but sometimes don't work for me. Like you can only, stand so much to the point where you're like, you know what, screw this.
Those when it makes you feel guilty, remember these things. I will send it to you so we can post it because it, I read it now when I found it and I was like, epiphanies galore. But it's certainly a lot of, it provides clarity in our relationships, where we stand with people, and to use a scary word, because it's not expectation. I don't want to use the word because you can't expect somebody to be, you can only expect them to meet you where they're at. But like, if you're honest about what that expectation is and they say no, okay, now you have a better understanding.
Right, at least.
Yeah. Hablando se entiende la gente.
Well, I hope you guys learned something today. If you guys have any more books, any links, any songs, remember to share with us. Just let us know. And thank you all who have been participating in the comments, sharing your thoughts. We truly appreciate it. We get a different perspective from obviously other people, and we get to implement it or reject it if we feel like it's not something that is true to ourselves and our beliefs. So
yeah, And also, none of you get a gift because nobody said that.
Nobody.
The no filters, no fears podcast definition of relationship. No gift to give.
None. But it's
But
okay.
it's all right. It's all right. So the calendar is out for the upcoming episodes, right?
Yes,
We got
it is.
coming up. Ooh, look at me. Look at me being so funny that I don't even remember. We've got next episode is a big one. Shame.
If y'all want to come, prepare yourselves emotionally.
Yeah. Shame will be a big episode. Important episode.
A very, yes.
And then followed by superstitions. Or superstitions. Right?
Yes, superstition.
Superstitious. I already know a song that's going on the playlist.
Oh, yeah. That one's going to be a
Stevie
fun
Wonder.
one. That's going to be a fun one, or, well, depending on how you take your serious superstitions. But, yeah. Some people take it serious, like, don't go under that ladder, but.
I mean, in the theater, we're very serious about our superstitions.
Oh, I could imagine.
Like crazy. But I won't talk about it today.
No, not today.
But now you know, and the calendar's out, and we'll post it up again. I like this kind of like trilogy of topics that we've done: communication and honesty, consent, boundaries, and transparency. I dig it.
So you want me to share the how what?
Yes.
Well, for you first, because you were saying no. Okay.
I was gonna say that how has that trilogy, like, what are some things that you've pulled from it? Because I pulled a lot from it from my everyday life.
Well, I can't really say much right now, but I just feel like it's a constant learning every single time how they all intertwine together and how they actually make perfect sense. And it's like interesting, because like I said, a boundary literally is no, and then it's actually consent as well. So, that's it. As much as I got so far.
Yeah, but I absolutely, for me, it's taught me what I want to be better at communicating, because I don't always have it. It's not very easy for me to find words sometimes when it comes to my feelings, because I talk a shit ton for everything else.
Wait, when it comes to my feelings, I could be direct depending on the person, but obviously, like I said, depending on the person, I can't with my feelings. So, but other than that, everything else, I know how to communicate what I want, what I need, and exactly implement that. So that's why it wasn't too new to me. But other things, I've learned from this episode. So
yeah. Oh, yes, agreed. Okay, now the news.
So to whoever's not listening or not tuned in, we have a website.
Yay!
So our merch will be up. So the link will be provided to you Wednesday. Wednesday. It will be provided to you Wednesday. So if you're interested in anything, not pointing at anything.
My imaginary one.
All right. If you're interested in anything, we have a couple of things up on our website. So I can't wait to share the link with you guys, and I hope you guys like it. And share, and be supportive.
Yeah. And we will see you Monday at 8 p.m. Keep a lookout for all of the posts dealing with shame, and feel free to share any perspectives or literature with us about that topic, about your thoughts on that topic. So, thank you, Brian.
Thank you. And also remember to take baby steps on hard topics and on the things that are uncomfortable to you.
Yes.
But always try your best to communicate and be transparent as much as you can.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's difficult, but it's important, especially if it's a relationship that you want to keep. that you want to keep going, that you have seen more benefits, more value than not. Don't let resentment fester. Squash it.
And don't let fear rule you and control you and your decisions, because it leads to destruction. Doesn't lead to any good places.
Yeah. Was it that my friend Jeff says, follow your fears, right? Because it usually, and therapists tell him, I'll say, face it head on. Because it's one of those things where it's going to tell you not to, and then you live the what if life. What if I would have?
Oh my God, exactly. Yes. See, I don't live by that. I can't. That's why I'm very spontaneous and I do as I please. I'm like,
I'm work about fear fighting. When it comes to other things, I'm getting better.
And remember, guys, that's what matters, that you get better at the things that are uncomfortable to you, at communication, at anything. Growth, it happens slowly, but it happens.
The journey, baby, the journey.
Yes. And remember, guys, to stay fearless, because this is what we're here for. So until today.
Bye.